All right. Good morning, everybody. It is 8:30 Pacific time. We're going to go ahead and jump into session number 5 of our MREA book club. Session 5 covers the 4 models, pages 128 through 172. So as we're all getting ready to dive into this content, I'm going to get you guys, or give you rather, some time to get out your MREA book. You're going to want a highlighter. You're going to want a pen to take some notes. We have a lot of stuff to get through. The 4 models are huge. I've actually taught an hour plus long class on each of the individual models, so being able to get through all of them in one fell swoop might be a little difficult. However, we're going to do our best. So I want to start with this, guys. Now, the 4 models. We talked last time about how these 4 models might be one of the most foundational components of the book. And one of the reasons for that is this. And I want to tell you a quick story. And yes, I promise it's quick. I want to tell you a quick story. So there was this guy, and he got into real estate. He was really excited. He had no background in real estate, had no family member in real estate. He just decided, you know what? I live in a town where the average income's not that great, and I want to stay here. So if I'm going to stay here, I've got to be in sales, and real estate sales seemed to make the most sense to him. So that being said, he got into real estate, and he got into real estate knowing nothing, and he got his license, and he signed up with the brokerage, and all of a sudden, he was a real estate agent. And he showed up for his first day to the brokerage, and they handed him his business cards. They walked him over and showed him the cubicle. They told him dial 9 to get out when you're dialing off the phone. And they said, good luck. And that was the training program. Now, I don't know if that sounds familiar to anybody else out there, but that guy was me. And that was my entry into real estate. That's what I knew going into real estate. And so the first day, the first minute of the first hour of the first day that I was in real estate, I was sitting at a desk, absolutely terrified, having no idea what my direction should be in order to be successful in this business. Now, I tell you that story to say this. These models are the blueprint for the how. These models are the absolute blueprint for how do I create a business in real estate sales. Not how do I become a hobbyist. How do I create a business in real estate sales? So these 4 models are that important. These 4 models are what I didn't have, and I succeeded despite not having these models. Guys, it kills me every day thinking about what would have it looked like if I had these models. What would it have looked like if I had this book when I first started in real estate? Man, that's a depressing thought sometimes. So let's jump into it, guys. But these 4 models are that important. I want you to take notes in your margins. Don't be one of those people that keeps this book nice and pretty and clean and neat. This is a workbook. This is your Bible for your business, and I want you guys to take notes and highlight the heck out of it. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, on page 128, he does an overview of the 4 models, kind of an intro. We're going to start on page 129 for our purposes today. Page 129. And the first model, there's 4 models. The first model is the economic model. Guys, when we start here, because without this one, none of the rest of them matter. None of the rest of them happen. That's why this one is the first model. Now, that being said, here's what we know. The economic model, he says on top page 129, it's your equation for success. It's your equation for success. Now, why the heck do you think he would say this is your equation for success? Guys, because it's the blueprint that determines your success in this business. That's how important the economic model is. He keeps going there on page 129. The economic model describes the relationship between a series of activities and the specific outcomes they produce. I want you to underline the word activities right there. Activities. Everything about the Millionaire Real Estate Agent tracks activities, not results. If you've read the 4 disciplines of execution, it talks about tracking the lead indicators, not the lag indicators. Here's what we mean by that. Quick example. Come New Year's, everybody wants to lose weight. Everybody wants to lose weight a lot around New Year's. And so they set their goals and they say, I want to lose 10 pounds or however many pounds. I want to lose 10 pounds. The problem with that is, and the reason most of them don't succeed is because they're tracking the wrong thing. They're tracking the lag indicator. They're tracking what comes as a result. Now, those who are really successful track lead indicators, activities most predictive and most influenceable by you and me as the practitioners. What can I influence the most that are most predictive of me hitting my goal? And so in the example of somebody wanting to lose weight, it's calories in and calories burned. Now, in your business, your economic model focuses on your activities, because if you're just simply tracking your closed goal, what you need to close this year, you won't hit your goal. And if you do, a blind squirrel even finds a nut. Good luck. Go buy a lottery ticket. You won't continually, successfully, consistently hit your goal if you're tracking closed sales or the lag indicators. So what he's talking about here is the economic model is looking at your activity, which is the absolute key. Now, let's keep going here. He keeps going there saying you can work the formula in reverse just as easily. If you start with an outcome, it will dictate the specific actions you must take to produce it. He said this before, begin with the end in mind. So we start, where do we want to be a year from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now? And then we simply work that backward. The economic model gives you that framework and that formula to be able to make that reality. It gives you the framework and the formula to know exactly what the activities must be on a daily basis in order for you to hit your goals. Guys, it does not get any more simple than this. And he said it in this book before, and we're going to talk about it later today. This business is simple. It's not easy. It's not without hard work, but this business is incredibly simple. When we have a framework and a blueprint of this economic model, this business is simple. We just make it complicated. Now, a little bit further down there, he says this: the issue is not about having the economic model. Rather, the issue is whether you understand the one you have and whether it can get you the net income you want. A sound economic model should do 3 basic things for you, and these 3 things should be highlighted in your book. If not, do it now. Number 1, your economic model should show you where your money comes from. That's called gross revenue. Top line, that's money in. Now, a lot of agents make the mistake of spending their gross revenue. That's not your money. That's your business's money, and we'll talk more about that, but that's not your money. Gross revenue is your business's money. Out of that, we pay expenses. Out of that, we pay a lot of other things. That's not your money. You don't get to touch it. Number 2, your economic model should show you where your money goes, your expenses. So we got money coming in. Where is it going out? We're going to talk a lot about that in another model. And number 3, it shows you how much is left. It shows you how much is left, net income. Guys, too many agents get too wrapped around the gross number. And the problem with focusing on the gross number is you don't get to pay your bills with the gross number. You pay your bills with the net income. So there's a lot of agents I trust in your market just like mine. There are a lot of agents that sell a lot of real estate and make a lot of money gross, and they're broke as a joke and they can't pay their bills and they lose everything they have. It's because they're not watching their expenses. They don't know the numbers of their business, okay? So keep these 3 things in mind. It's going to show you your gross revenue, it's going to show you your expenses, and it's going to show you your net. What can I project to make net profit based on this gross revenue paying these expenses? Now, he also says most people follow very unsound economic models. I would say 99% of real estate agents follow unsound real estate economic models. And he says there's 3 things that describe theirs. Number 1, they're not sure where their money will come from. They're a hoping and a dreaming and a wishing. Hope isn't a strategy, people. You have to know where your money's come from. If it's not planned, it's not happening. You might get lucky and you might also be broke. Number 2, they're not sure which costs are critical and which ones are not. They're not inspecting what they expect. They're not looking closely at each little expense. Guys, I'm practicing what I'm preaching. Literally with my admin, we just went through and cut a $49 a month expense because I wasn't using it. Now, in the scheme of things, $49 a month is not going to make me miss my house payment. But guess what? All of you have $49 expenses that you've forgotten about that you keep paying because they're auto paid on a credit card. And those add up and stack up. And we have 6 to 10 of those that become a big deal. How finite are you getting with your numbers? How closely are you looking at your numbers? And how well are you playing red light, green light, which we'll talk about. Number 3, they can't be sure how much will be left at the end of the year. I don't know about you, but being in a business with no salary and we're completely commission based, I have to work in as much a surety as I can. I have to make this as predictable as I possibly can. And the great news is for you and I, this business can absolutely be predictable. This business is simple, not easy. This business absolutely can be predictable if we're using sound models. The economic model is one of them. Look on page 130. Now, towards the last sentence in the top paragraph there, big models work for everyone and lead to big goals. In fact, the model advocated here has no known limits. Now, Jake's on, and Jake, anytime you want to hop in here, man, feel free. I just want to go, I wanted to stop here and pause for a second. Guys, this should be starred, that last sentence in that top paragraph should be starred, circled, underlined, highlighted, whatever you're doing in your book, and here's why. A lot of people, whether it's consciously or subconsciously, when they're reading this book, a lot of people find themselves coming up against things that would stretch them, find themselves coming up against things that they've never done before, coming up against things that require them to think differently. And so instead of leaning in and trusting the process and trusting the story and the results of lots of other people, the story they start telling themselves is, well, that's okay. I can modify mine. I can dumb mine down because I don't want to build a 7th level team. Like, I'm sure it works for those people who want to build a massive business. I just want to have a medium-sized business. So this stuff doesn't really apply to me. Hogwash.
It's a trap.
It's a 110% trap, and it becomes a ceiling on your income and your impact. I want you to hear me clearly on that. That thinking puts a ceiling on your income and your impact, because we're not just in this business to make money. We're in this business to help people. And you're being selfish if you allow that thinking to creep in and take hold and start affecting your actions, because you're limiting how many people you can help. I don't care if you want to get to a 7th level team. I don't care if you want to have 30 people or 3 on your team. That's not the point. His point here is, when you work off the model of somebody that wants to build the biggest real estate business possible, even if you only want to go a quarter of the way down that path, you still have a much more profitable business that's impacting significantly more people. Don't miss that fact. Now, page 130, he goes into the 3 key areas of economic model. And we're going to start, I'm moving fast today, I know, but we have to, because we have 4 models to get through. And I do 1-hour classes on each of these, right? And we have 1 hour to get through 4. So put your seatbelt on. Here we go. The first area of the 3 focus areas, the economic model, page 130, middle of the page. Number 1, focus on the numbers you must hit. It says the greatest thing your economic model will tell you is what numbers you must hit in order to net the income you want to receive. Again, this is about, how do I take this chaotic, unpredictable business and make it predictable? Because, yeah, that is possible. It just requires you to do the business differently than majority of your peers. And that's okay. That's okay. That's also why you're going to make more money than the majority of your peers. I think that's probably okay with all of you as well, right? We have to think a little bit differently if we want different results. Now, on the bottom of that page, he also says this. He says, once you get a feel for the way the numbers interact, meaning all your numbers inside your economic model, you can take the guesswork out of your planning and get specific and set specific goals in specific areas to achieve specific results. Now, if you look on the top of page 131, the other thing I love about this book is, instead of it just being theory-based, this is a workbook, people. Look at figure 7 on the top of page 131. Now, I have spreadsheets for the economic model. If you want one, I'll post one in the comments in the Facebook group. I'll upload that file there. But guys, here's the deal. Even if all you did is photocopy this figure 7 on the top of page 131, if you just photocopied that and started going through it, you'd at least have an economic model you could start working with. And you'd be ahead of the majority of your competition. You understand that this literally breaks down working it backwards from how many appointments I need down to what I want to make. And the beautiful part is, when it's done correctly, and maybe we'll do a separate video on this, Jake, and we can walk them through how to do this. We'll be glad to do a separate video on this. We'll post that inside the Facebook group. But guys, the whole point is here, we start with, what do you want to net? What do you want to net? What do you want to pay taxes on, is how I explain it to people that I coach. What do you want to net at the end of the year? And then we work that backwards up the chain. And I can tell you exactly how many calls and appointments you need to make each day in order to be on pace for that goal. Now, I don't know about you, but that gives me a complete sense of calm. In a business where there's chaos, that gives me a complete sense of calm, because I have a plan. And I know every day if I'm winning or I'm losing. The problem in our business is most people are wildly wandering around. They have no idea if they're winning or losing. They get to November, they're broke, and then they act as if it's a big surprise. You have tools and resources that can help you avoid that. This is one of them. Now, on the bottom of 131, number 2, focus on appointments. We talked a little bit about this, focusing on the predictive things, the lead indicators. Now, it says, when you look at your economic model, you can clearly see that it has a beginning and an end. The end is the net income you'll receive. What causes that net income starts the beginning activity, appointments. Now, Again, whole nother class, not going to go into it here. I don't get to, darn it, but we'll go there in other parts of this book, I promise. Here's my bottom line. I hear a lot of people say, okay, well, I hit my appointment goal for the day. Okay. You still have an hour and 30 minutes left of your lead gen time block. Oh, but I hit my appointment goal for the day. That's great. And you might suck tomorrow. You might absolutely swing and miss tomorrow. You don't get to take your foot off the gas. That appointment goal is a threshold. It's a marker. It's a help to tell you, am I winning or losing? It does not give you permission to take your foot off the gas. Do the activities every day, consistently at the same level. Some days you're going to have great days and you're going to feel like a hero. Some days, as my friend Cody Gibson says, you're going to feel like you're God's gift to real estate. You're going to look at the score. You're gonna be like, I only had to make 20 calls. I set 10 appointments. I'm the best guy that ever lived in this. Like, I literally could be the best person that ever did real estate. And then the very next day, you know exactly where I'm going with this. The very next day, what does that look like? You're a 0. The very next day, you're making like 70 calls. You make no contacts. You have no appointments set. And you're like, I don't even know why I'm in this business. I should just quit and go work at McDonald's. I have no idea why I'm even doing this.
It was yesterday.
Exactly what I'm talking
McDonald's,
about.
but it was yesterday.
Yeah. You know exactly what I'm talking about. You could go from 0 to 0 in this business quickly. This is why you don't get to take your foot off the gas on those days where you're doing really, really well. Because I promise you're going to have a day coming after that you're going to need the extra from the day before. So keep that in mind. Appointments. It doesn't matter how many contacts it takes you to get. That's another thing I hear from agents. Okay, well, how many contacts do I need to shoot for? Guess what? If you're literally hunting for appointments, how many contacts it takes to get them is irrelevant. It's irrelevant. Now, your goal as a real estate agent is to get better at your skills, so it takes fewer of them to get there. But ultimately, how many contacts it takes, I don't care. And you shouldn't either. The appointments are what we're shooting for. The appointments are our goal. Now, furthering that and how we refine that, page 132, he talks about focusing on conversion rates. You're going to see there, he starts going through this a couple sentences into that paragraph. How many of these appointments you can convert to seller and buyer listing agreements and then convert to sales will determine just how much income you can actually earn. This is why the conversion rate is such an important topic. This is why this is worth our time in our business and in our skill development, because this is the difference of you guys taking the same amount of time and doubling your money, or taking the same amount of time and making half the money. And there are people on this call that represent both of those statements. And I love you both, and we need to focus on the conversion rates. Now, further down, he says, conversion rates are the key variables in your income equation. Next sentence down, converting leads to appointments and converting appointments to listings are huge drivers of your economic success. Duh, we all know this. But how much time on your calendar, if I was there with you at your desk right now or in your car, wherever you're at, if I was with you right now, how much time would I see on your calendar devoted to working on your conversion rate? How much time would I see on your calendar working on your skill set? I know we all think like, duh, yeah, Gary, we get this. Conversion rate's important. Of course it means we make more money. Like, that's easy. Knowledge for knowledge's sake is worthless. What are you doing with it? Knowledge,
execution and implementation.
Yes, execution's the key, guys. How is it showing up on your calendar? Because if it's not on your calendar, I know it's cliche, we've heard it a billion times, but if it's not on your calendar, it doesn't exist. That's right, Jake. So where is it showing up on your calendar that you're understanding the importance of conversion rate? Not just knowing that it's important, but where are you showing me that you understand that it's important? How is that showing up in your business? And if you're a team or a leader of other people on a team, where's it showing up on theirs?
Right. So here's the easy button for conversion rates. If there's one thing that you can do every day, we talk about it through the whole book, that can improve your conversion rates. Here's the bait. With a partner, what is the one thing you can be doing to increase your conversion rates? Could it be script practice? Kind of wonder. We don't practice on our clients, right? We practice on each other, and it's got to be real play. It can't be the, hey, Ben, how you doing this morning? How's your kids? No, man, you come straight into it with a, hi, Ben, this is Jake Clendenning with Keller Williams Realty. What are your real estate related goals for 2019? You got to go into it that hard. You got to play real, and you expect your partner to come at you with hard objections. That way you get better. That's how your conversion rates go up.
100%. And here's a couple other things, guys. And if you're writing notes on this, I want you to take notes on this part. Okay, because as you guys know, I am a part of United Home Group. I get the pleasure of being in business with Cody Gibson. One of the things, like, I'm just telling you this because I'm practicing what I'm preaching here. And I got people from UHG on this call, and they can back me up on this. I'm not blowing smoke. Here's one thing we're doing with our people right now. And I want you to write this down. 1:10:20 stands for add one person to your Met database per day, which we're going to talk about. Do 10 minutes minimum of script practice per day and make 20 contacts minimum per day. If you want the absolute simplest success formula in this business, it's the 1:10:20. One to your Met database added per day, minimum 10 minutes script practice per day, 20 minimum contacts per day. Guys, it's that simple. The script practice has to be real play. It's not small talk. If you don't do script practice with an agent, you're practicing on your people, and that's ridiculous. That's really expensive. When you're doing script practice, best practice, when you're doing script practice with a script practice partner, make them close 3 times before you give them a yes. Don't be a jerk. Don't make them go 10. Don't never give them the close. Make them close 3 times.
And always let them win. In the end, always let the person win. You have to get used to winning.
Absolutely. It creates a habit and a pattern. All right, look at page 133. We're moving like a herd of turtles. We have to keep moving. But it's good content. You see what I'm talking about? Like, you could see how this becomes hour-long classes on each model because we're not even scratching the surface. This is the end of your study on these models. My goal for you, this is just the beginning. Okay? 133. Now he talks about your lead generation model again. Top of that page, as important as your economic model is, your lead generation model is just as important. Why? Because one relies upon the other. Skipping a little bit down. Once you know how many appointments you must have, you now have to go generate the leads necessary to generate those appointments. Leads are fuel to your economic engine, and here is a truth that you must never lose sight of. You can never have enough good leads. Never. Now, I've heard this excuse from a lot of people. Oh, you know what? I'm pull my foot off the gas because I have so much business right now, I couldn't handle anymore. Now, Jake is a coach as well, and we both just puked in our mouth a little bit. Even when I said it, I puked in my mouth a little bit. Now, here's the problem with that, guys. Here's what I want you to see. You never can have enough leads, and he talks extensively about it in this section, which we're not going to go super in-depth. And we hear this all the time from people like, I don't want to do that program because what if I get too many leads? Here's what I know. Too many leads insulate you against any kind of market shift or correction. And there's no such thing as too many leads, as exactly like Gary says here. There's no such thing. Here's what I mean by that. Even in a crazy market, if Jake is doing lead gen and he gets too many leads, then more than he can handle. Are there any agents in your market center, Jake, that you could refer those to and take a referral fee and still own the lead in the database?
All day, every day.
You understand, guys, your job is to build as big of a business as possible, as fast as possible. And the way we do that is with a huge amount of leads, and that's Gary's point here. Now, further on here, and this is where I want to go in the positioning battle, and I want to share with you some actual stats from NAR, because this is huge. Now, what you're going to see on the bottom of page 133 is this. Gary says that, and he cites the 2002 National Association of Realtors Profile of Buyers and Sellers. Now, some of you may know what this is, and some of you may not. The Profile of Buyers and Sellers, the National Association of Realtors, which you're a member of because you're a realtor, the National Association of Realtors polls tens of thousands of buyers and sellers each year, asks them the same questions, and from that produces a report every year. Now, from that report, we as agents and practitioners can gain a lot of knowledge as to how our industry is changing, how our consumers find product, what they prefer, all of these things. So what he's referring is that very report. And I've purchased this report every year I've been in this business, and I will continue to because the information it gives us is invaluable. Now, he cites on the bottom of page 133, this is from 2002 report, that 76% of sellers contacted only one agent and 16% of sellers contacted just 2. Now, that's 2002, and so I know some people's drunk monkeys are like, oh, yeah, but that was 2002. Here's 2018.
Mm-hmm.
In 2018, 75% only contacted one person and 13% contacted 2 or less. The numbers haven't changed significantly, people. It's almost the exact same. So what does this tell us? In the terms of this positioning battle, this slide, this data, this response consistently since before 2002 from our consumers tells us that the first person in wins. You don't have to be excellent. You don't have to be amazing. You just have to be first.
You got to be consistent. Could that be 33 touches to your database?
We might be talking about that soon. Guys, here's what I want you to hear. I want you to hear me clearly. The only competition you have over 75% of the time is you. Now, we like to say we're competing against other agents because it makes us feel better if we suck. But you don't have competition most of the time. Most of the time, you are your competition. So how much are we staying in front of our people, which is Gary's point? How consistently are we staying in front of them? And how fast are we getting to them to stay that in top of mind spot with those consumers? Now, he then goes on to buyers. And he gives you the stats for buyers on page 135. Guess what? Excuse me, on page 134 at the top for buyers. Those numbers have significantly changed. Look what he said in the book and then look at the slide. In the book, 134, he said, according to the same 2002 NAR research, 59% of all buyers interviewed only one agent. That number has jumped to 68% today. Do you think maybe that has something to do with how we're finding the buyers compared to when 2002 report or when this book was published in 2004? Guys, our industry has changed, not in what we do, but in how our clients interact and come to us. And we're finding them online. We're finding them significantly earlier in the purchasing process. It's no wonder that we've gone from 59%, according to the 2002 report, to 68% of all buyers only interviewing one agent. Again, if you have buyer's agents, do they have as much competition as they like to make you think they do?
Sure.
Don't miss these things, guys. I wanted to give you real updated today's numbers because those drunk monkeys, they need to be punched in the throat because they're lying to you. It's not changed. And in fact, with buyers, they're actually interviewing fewer agents since 2002, not more.
The information is readily available. They don't need to. They can find everything they need to in this little 3.5-inch screen, and they can go, you know what? I love Ben. I'm just going to call him.
Our relationship and our value to our clients has changed. What they see value in has changed, and that's also inside these reports. We don't have time today, but I'm telling you, what they value in working with you is different than it used to be. And it starts with relationship, and it starts with speed to response. How fast are you getting in touch with these people? Now, page 134, right above figure 8, he says this, in the battle for real estate consumer mindshare, you're either first or second, or you're out of contention. You're either at the head of the class or with the rest and lost in the mass. Top of 135. So the big question and challenge is how to win with those first two positions of real estate mindshare with enough people. The answer is through systematic lead generation effort. Now, this is where we're going next because this is really it sounds complicated. It's actually however, it should be very simple. Now, you can see on 135, he says this. The real issue is even bigger than conversion rates. It's your net results. The number of converted leads you achieve and the sales volume in which they translate. High conversion rates will allow you to generate the same income for fewer leads than if you had lower conversion rates. But, underline but, and yes, it's counter to what is said in the bold room. Still underline it. But lower conversion rates. Look what he says. But lower conversion rates can be just as effective if you can amass a great number of leads. Now, I'm going to stop here for a second because to me, this has a lot to do with lead source because I also hear a lot of agents say, oh, I don't want to do that type of lead generation because it converts at a lower percentage. So I'm just going to stay over here where I can be somewhat guaranteed or feel like I'm guaranteed of a high conversion rate because that makes me feel better. Baloney. Guys, internet lead gen converts 2 to 4%, 2 to 4% nationally. NAR also says that internet leads take 10 to 18 months from their time of first logging on to start research to the time of purchasing, 10 to 18 months. Here's my point. When we know that buyers specifically in this example on your screen, 68% of buyers only interviewed one, and then 20% above that only interviewed two or less, it doesn't matter whether you like the conversion rate or not. If you're not working that part of the business, you're losing out. You're missing out and you're on your way out. They're starting online. They're starting 10 to 18 months, 10 to 18 months before they're actually making a purchase. If you're not working that in some way, shape, or form, if you're not playing that game, and if you're not because you're saying, oh, the conversion rate's only 2 to 4%, you don't have that option anymore. because even your sphere of influence in your database, they're starting online. And if they're not working on your site, and if you're not in front of them and you're not that person providing the method to them and the tools to them, they're going to be going with somebody else. And everybody in this call has had people we thought for sure were going to work with us that we find out worked with somebody else. And that's one of the worst feelings in the world for our industry, yet it happens consistently. And part of the reason is because we're not doing this systematically, which is what we're diving into here. Now,
even if you only did 100 internet leads a year at a 2% conversion rate over the 2-year course, 2 pieces of business, average price point, average commission check $9,000. Are you okay making $18,000 working internet leads this year? Only 100? That's even if you suck. You make 18 extra grand, right?
Yeah, and here's the other side of that, Jake. Here's the other side. So yes, we have closed business opportunity. Guess what all of these people then should be going into, which we're going to talk about in a second? They should be going into our database, and we're going to walk through shortly here what that process and that flow looks like. It's a way to build our database for later business, not just today business. But a lot of people come to the internet lead gen table expecting it to be now business. Sometimes it is. Most of the time it's not. And yet you're going to need it then too. Now look what he says towards the bottom of 135. He says, highly successful real estate agents will tell you that as far as lead generation is concerned, the quality is in the quantity. We've heard Gary say that before, and a lot of people buckle at that and don't like it, and they doesn't matter if you like it. With a 2 to 4% conversion rate, and with this many people starting their search online, with this many people only interviewing one person, with this many people working with the first person that comes in contact with them, get over it. The quality's in the quantity. It's going to take a number of them. Now, he goes on the bottom of 135, and this just made me chuckle because every time I read this part, it makes me think of agents that I started in real estate with who are no longer selling real estate. He's talking about your marketing, your look, and your message are very, very important. How a lot of agents spend a ridiculous amount of time worrying about their look and their marketing and all of the stuff, the flashy, slick marketing stuff. And the only problem with that is they're using it as a reason not to do the work that keeps them in the business, which is lead generation. He says it's very, very important. However, we must keep them in perspective, the marketing stuff. Even as important as your look and message are, there's a much stronger correlation between sales leads generated and the consistency and frequency of your message than between sales and the creativity of your message. And this is what is the downfall of a lot of agents in this business is they don't want to follow the model of somebody else. It can't be that simple is what they think. And I can't just do it the way somebody else did it. I have to create my own. And we talked about that in the beginning of the book, the models before creativity. We cannot build a big business on the foundation of creativity. It'll topple and fall every single time. What we have to be resigned to the fact is that success is incredibly boring, like we talked about before. It's come straight from Gary Keller. Success is incredibly boring. And the sooner you get to terms with that, the better you're going to be and the more money you're going to make, because success is incredibly boring because it's the repetition of the fundamentals, and the fundamentals are not sexy, they're not new, and they're not creative. They've been done before, they'll be done again, yet when they're done consistently, they'll make you as much money as you want to make. Success is incredibly boring. That's his point here. Now, let's keep moving here. Bottom of 136, he's talking about the 3 key areas of your lead gen model. Number 1, prospect and market. The goal of your Achieve Big lead generation program is twofold: to generate leads and to build strong relationships for future business. This is what we were talking about. Internet leads is just one example. You can use any kind of lead generation you want for this example. But the goal of every bit of lead generation is not just finding today business, it's to strengthen and build relationships that's going to turn into tomorrow and next year and 5 years from now business. And oh, by the way, referrals from their friends as well.
And if you haven't starred, underlined, folded, dog-eared that page, made a scratch and stiff snicker about that, build stronger relationships for future business. For the love of Pete, build stronger relationships. That is where your business is going to come from down the road.
It's huge,
the
guys.
Relationship business, man. That I cannot stress that enough.
Look at 137. If there's one diagram in this book that I refer to the most, this would be one of the top 5. And we're going to go through three of the top 5 today. So this figure right here looks like the bullseye. It is figure 9 on page 137. Now, as we're going through this, I have it on the screen too, but this is a big one, guys. And there's a lot of things we could go through in this section. We'll go through some of them, but I want to start here. Okay, so on the outside ring, we always start on the outside ring and we're working towards the middle, as you can see those arrows pointing, okay? So we're starting an outside ring, and that's the general public that haven't met. That's everybody in your city, your county, your zip code. That's everybody, okay? Next ring in is your target group haven't met. So instead of it being everybody in your zip code or your city, maybe it's everybody in a specific neighborhood in a specific zip code in the city. You still don't know these people, but it's more targeted than just everybody that happens to live in this area. Then the next ring in is your MET group. This is your know, like, and trust group, your sphere of influence, your database. We call this a million things, but this is the MET group. This is people that know, like, and trust you, because that's who people do business with, the people they know, like, and trust. Now, next ring in is your allied resources, and it says one-on-one. Now, I've done a separate video. We can post it in the Facebook group.
Yeah, do.
30 cups of coffee in 30 days, guys. And this strategy was not mine. It was from a friend, Jonathan Dupree. I'll tag him in it as well. I'm sure he got it from somewhere, but that's where I learned it from. But it's talking about what happens if the next 30 days you identify in your database the top 30 people who are most influential or have sent you the most business or referrals. You identify the top 30 people in your database. Now, if you only have 30 people, congratulations, you get to go out with all of them. But most of you have more than 30 people or should have more than 30 people in your phone. Most of you should have a lot more than 30 people in your database. Yet we're going to identify the top 30 people, and over the next 30 days, we're going to take each of them out to a cup of coffee. And we're going to have the conversation. You'll see in the video, but essentially the conversation is, you're influential. I appreciate you. How can I help you build your business? Oh, by the way, who do you know that's looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate? I'm coming from contribution. I want to help. I'm making FaceTime. Oh, by the way, one of our books that we read at UHG is called The 7 Levels of Communication, written by a friend, Michael Mayer. And it talks about the networking stack. And so when we're doing those 30 cups of coffee in 30 days, we're strategically taking and blocking people one in front of the other so that I can introduce them on the crossover. Maybe I have a contractor friend who needs to know somebody at city planning and zoning. I'm going to put their appointments right next to each other so that I can introduce them across the paths as we're changing meeting times. Oh, by the way, I'm also having those people come to meet me. I'm not jumping all over town. I'm going to be in one place, and they're all going to come to meet me there. I'll post the video, but guys, here's the deal. That allied resources, that's your core group. That's why it's the center of this target. That's your core group of people. Your allied resources, by definition, can also be your title company, your lender, home inspector. These are people that are a part of your team. Even if they're not a part of your real estate sales business team, they are a part of your team that gets things done, that helps your clients come to successful close, okay? Now, keep that page dog-eared. You can see it is in mine and has been for years. The next page, 138, this is where we start going a little bit more granular with some of these concepts. Now, one thing to note here, this book was published in 2004. And what you're going to hear from this book a lot is that things should be, our business should be marketing-based and prospecting-enhanced. Because that was the reality when the book was published. Marketing-based, prospecting-enhanced. Now, how has that changed? What is it today? What does Gary say it should be today? Prospecting-based, marketing-enhanced. It's flipped. And the reason it's flipped is because how consumers find us, how we find consumers, has drastically changed. You understand, when this book came out, there was not really such a thing as an internet lead. Think about that. It doesn't seem like all that long ago this book came out, but when they wrote this book, when they did the case studies of the people who contributed to this book, internet leads weren't a thing. The game has changed, my friends, and so it was marketing-based, prospecting-enhanced. For the last number of years, Gary's been on stage consistently saying, guys, flip that. It's prospecting-based, marketing-enhanced. The rules of this game have changed, and so it's going to be prospecting-based, marketing enhanced. It has flipped. So what you see on page 138, figure 10, is a list of those activities. Again, what I would have done to have this list when I was a new agent. I had no idea. I got a cup of coffee, business cards, dial 9. That's what I got for my training. I had no idea what to do. You guys have a list right here. You no longer have an excuse of saying, I don't know what to do. Because here's a full list of what's prospecting and marketing. Now, what's the difference? The difference. Prospecting is direct. I'm going to them. It's proactive. I'm going directly to them. Whereas marketing's fine. I'm not against marketing, but marketing's passive, and I'm waiting for them to come to me. Now, a lot of you know that there's a lot of agents that have the methodology, like the Field of Dreams, like he references later in the book, that if I build it, they will come. And these people sit in the office all day and they drink the really crappy coffee at the market center all day and they just hang out and then they wonder why nobody showed up and wanted to help them build their business all day. Nobody showed up and said, write this contract for me. Nobody showed up and said, I want you to list my home. But they were sitting there waiting. Guys, that's the point. Prospecting is I'm going to them. The game has changed. The rules have changed. No longer can we be passive. People are not walking into offices anymore like they used to. I started this business in 2005, and we literally used to have people that would drive into town, look for a sign of a brand they recognized, and they'd walk in, and they'd say, hey, we'd like to look at property here. Why? Because there was no MLS online. We had books printed, and they had to come to us to get the data. They had to come to us to flip through a book that we got once a week that showed us all the properties that were available. They had to come into our office before. Guys, you understand right now, they have just as good a data as you do, and they don't have to be licensed. And they can get it on multiple sites. This is why we've switched from marketing-based to prospecting-based. Marketing will enhance your prospecting efforts. You have to be, must be prospecting-based in this business if you want to last and build a business that you are desiring to build. Now, page 139. This is what I think is really, really interesting. So he's saying on page 138, go through, make a list of what activities you are doing or want to do. 139, middle of the page, he says this: when you have your final list, meaning you've gone through and created your list, systematize it. Create a written plan on how you propose to attack each of the areas over the course of the next 12 months. He says further on, our interviews with top producing agents clearly reveal that they purposely employ a wide variety of techniques to a greater than average number of sources. We have to do a number of these things to a big group of people to have any kind of assurance we're going to have the number of appointments and at-bats that we're looking for. Again, you can never have too many leads. This is what this is all backing up. Further on, he says the target group consists of people who you haven't met and don't know, but it differs from the general public in that you've targeted them. Again, like we're talking about, this would be like a farm area potentially. Go to page 140. This is a big one, guys. Right next to that gray box on top of 140, it says if there's a basic formula for working with your allied resources, it can be summed up this way. Underline and highlight this. It can be summed up this way: educate, ask for help, and reward. Now, further on in this page, and I'm not going to read it, but it's on 140, and you should have already read it, and if not, go back and read it again. But here's what he's talking about when it comes to referrals, and this is something that hit me between the eyes the first time I read it and still does every single time. He talks about the fact that most agents, when they have somebody that refers them business, most agents only thank the person and do a thank you gift and have any kind of acknowledgement of thanks when the deal what?
Closes.
When it closes. And the problem with that is that those people referring you deals can't control whether it closes or not. Who can?
Mm-hmm.
You and I can.
You and I can.
His point is we want to reward the activity that we want to see or would like to see more of. So let me give you an example of what I do personally. You do what you want to do, but I took this to heart when I was selling, and I still have this program set up. I have a flower shop right down the street here. It's called Hanson's Floral, if you're ever in Coeur d'Alene. Hanson's Floral. You go to XYZ Floral, I don't care. But I have a small flower shop that I like the people, I trust them, I have a credit card on file. And I walked in years ago, and I said, I want to create a system that when I call you and say I need my usual sent to this person, here's what it looks like. So we established, it's a, you know, the little like, don't worry, be happy, yellow smiley face guy. Mm-hmm. It's that mug. It's a yellow smiley face, don't worry, be happy mug. And in it, they do a small little thing of flowers, and out of it, a huge thank you balloon. Now, I know I have a fixed cost every single time because they make it the exact same way every single time. And guess where I have that delivered?
To the office of the agent.
Yes, I send it to the office of the person that referred. Why? Because everyone walking by that person is going to go, oh, what the heck's the occasion? What's going on? What do I force them to say? Oh, this is my real estate agent. He just sent this to me because I sent somebody to him that was looking to buy real estate. Oh, who's that? Oh, it's Ben Fairfield. Guys, I don't actively sell, and I closed 6 transactions last year. I don't sell. I have too many jobs as it is. I don't sell. But I work a system, and I reward the activity they want to see more of, and I'm building a business that's completely passive.
Right.
You guys could do the exact same thing. I'm rewarding the activity that I want to see more of. I'm not waiting until the closing gift. I get them a closing gift, don't worry. When they send me somebody that does close, I just went to a really fun comedy show and a really expensive dinner with people who sent me a deal that did close. That was after I did the other things. So hear me clearly, I'm doing both. Are we rewarding the activity we want to see more of? If you want more people thinking of you to refer to you, thinking when they hear somebody else in the workplace or church or school or wherever talking about real estate, if you want more of them to say, hey, you need to call Ben or Bill or Sue or whoever, reward that activity. It's a simple way. All I have to do now, and I don't even do it, I have somebody else that does it, but for a long time it was me. All I would have to do is call and say, hey, I'd like to do my usual to this person. Here's the name, here's the address. They knew what card to use, what to write on the card. I didn't have to answer any questions. It was a 2-minute phone call. And I'm telling you guys, I don't know what my return is in that program, but it's massive. It's really, really big. I've never tracked it because I got too many other things going on. It's big. What does your system look like? Create a system to reward the activity you want to see more of. Look at page 141. Now, let's say you're one of those people that's saying, that's great, Ben, that's perfect. I don't know what it looks like to create a system to generate referrals from my allied resources. Guess what? It's on page 141, figure 11. It's done for you. If you don't want to get creative, which you shouldn't right now because it's not your highest and best use, follow figure 11. You have a system. You just have to put it into practice and implement it. Now,
and if you don't understand this, go to your team leader, set an appointment with your team leader to sit down and have them go over this with you. That's what their part of their job is. Make an appointment, have them go through it. They're happy to do it because they're going to help you grow a bigger business.
Absolutely. All right, guys, let's look at 142. And I already know we're only going to get through these two models. So next week, we're going to go over budget and organizational model because it's just too much to get through all four in one. Okay? Here's what we know at 142. This is big. This is really big. This has the potential to make you more money than anything else we talk about in this book, right here. Top of page 142, set up a database and feed it. At the heart of your lead generation program will be a large, powerful contact management database. Think of the names of the people in your database and the relationship you have with them as your business.
Now, a lot of us have changed the word from database to data bank, and there's a reason for that. That's where the money lives.
Here's something I'm sure lots of people on this call have heard this or have seen this, but this is my 14th year doing this. And of the 14 years, 12 were spent recruiting top talent to organizations. And what's amazing is after reading this book, after implementing it in my own business, after living it, and then taking it to this side, whenever I'm talking to an agent who's never read this, who is entrepreneurial, who's not purposeful, who's flying by the seat of their pants, when they tell me their success, I can almost always guess how many people are in their database. Almost always. Mm-hmm. Because the formulas are consistent, guys. They're not my formulas. I had nothing to do with writing any of this. I just love it and I'm passionate about it. The formulas, though, are absolutely consistent. They work absolutely every time, and we're going to talk about those formulas. Here's what he says. Towards the bottom of that page, your database is your business. Building up the number of names in it and a relationship with those names is really at the very core of what building a real estate business is all about. Now, that's the good news for a lot of us because a lot of us in this business are relational people. We got into this business because we wanted to hang out and be with people. Well, that's great, but that's not all your job is. It's a part of what your job is. It's not all of what your job is, okay? So he keeps going there. Think of it this way. The size of your real estate business will be in direct proportion to the size and quality of your database. That's what I'm talking about. When I'd have these agents, sometimes agents making millions of dollars a year come to me and they were frustrated they were hitting a ceiling, I could almost always, and I used to make it a game, I could almost always guess how many people were in the database they were working. Simply by using this formulas we're going to use right here, and we're going to talk about in 2 pages. It's simple, right? Now, that's good news. It means it's also simple to get different results. He goes on there, the best approach to lead generation is to set up a model that you systematically execute. Underline those 2 words. Mm-hmm. Setting up a model that you systematically execute. Once you've got the model, your entire focus becomes implementing the model. Now, if you look at 143, you see the model he's referring to. Figure 12 is the model, the lead generation database model he's referring to. Now, on 143, he says this, to operate your database model, you first need to realize that you'll be trying to generate leads from 2 groups, and this is key. 2 groups you're pulling from or fishing from. The first is your MET database. The second is a targeted group of people whom you haven't met. So again, a met database is those that I know, like, and trust. Haven't met database, everybody else. But it should be targeted, which we're going to talk more about. Marketing and prospecting to your met and haven't met databases will yield 3 types of business. New business from haven't mets, repeat from met, and referral, also most likely from met. While prospecting and marketing, direct contact with these 2 groups is a very powerful approach, it's not very leveraged. I'm on the top of 144. Simply put, if you rely on pure prospecting, you probably will never generate enough leads to reach your highest potential. And the same can be said now as they're shifting focus as our industry has changed. If you have all your eggs in the marketing basket, you're not going to hit your potential either. We have to do both. We have to have systems that involve both. Oh, by the way, I'll also post a video in the Facebook group, but they're now saying that it should be a 36 touch based on the updated research instead of a 33 touch. And I happen to have a video of Tony DeCello, who's one of the best real estate coaches of all time, unpacking what those steps of 36 touch will be. I'll post that in our Facebook group as well for you guys to see. Bottom line, though, it's systematic touches, and it's combination of prospecting activity and marketing activity. Now, 144 in the middle. This is big. You can see I have it highlighted and underlined, so I'm not snowing you over. This is big. The danger of slacking off and not following a systematic approach at all times is that each time the market shifts, and it always does, you'll have to reinvent your lead generation approach. The best in the industry never allow their lead generation systems to fall prey to the ebb and flow of enthusiasm of the market. They systematize such that little energy or enthusiasm is required to keep the machine running at all times. Ultimately, it's not going to be you keeping it running. If you're doing it correctly and you're building your business and you have the revenue coming in and you can hire the leverage at some point in time, you have somebody else managing and keeping this going. But it has to start with you to set it up and what it is, what the standards are, and what it looks like. Now, a couple sentences below that. To be extremely successful in the long term, your approach to lead generation needs to be purposeful and consistent. Enthusiastic entrepreneurial get-go just isn't enough for the long haul. There is simply too much chance in that approach. Guys, we're talking about putting systems in place, things that are most predictive and give us the best shot of consistent results year over year. Now, for a lot of people who are relational and just wanted to go sell houses because they watch HGTV, this part is making them yawn. This part is making them yawn because this is where the work happens. Like, this is the actual business owner side of our industry. And it's also a reason that 2 out of 10 make it past the second year in the industry. And it's also a reason that the average agent in NAR sold 7 transactions last year. Most people aren't willing to do this, yet if you are, your opportunity is unlimited. So that's why this is so important. Look at page 145. And this is the last section we'll be on before we wrap our time together today. And we're not going to obviously do this justice. You guys really need to read these pages. You need to really dive deep into these 2 models. I just want to give you some context and an overview of why these are so important and kind of share some thoughts with you. Now, page 145.3, systematically market to your database. This, again, answers the question of the how. So I love this book, again, because it's not just theory saying you should. They also give us the how. What are the best practices of the most successful people that our industry has ever seen? What do they do? How do they do these things? You have the roadmap right here. Now, he says in that paragraph, 2 sentences down, to succeed at a high level in real estate sales, you must commit to frequent contact with a database with the intent of building close relationships. And you'll need to take the approach, and you'll need to approach it systematically to make absolutely sure that this gets done. Doesn't mean you're going to be doing it all the time. It will mean that it has to be getting done on a regular basis. We have to inspect what we expect. Now, you're going to see in the figure 13, bottom left of page 145, 8x8, 33 touch, 12 direct. These answer the hows. And these are the 3 methods that should be used. Now flip to page 146. And starting on 146, this is where they absolutely break down what each of these methods are. So I'm going to give you some high points. Going to trust that you're going to go back and actually read through this and implement these in your business. So the 8x8, what do you need to know about it? The 8x8 program is a systematic way of establishing relationships and cementing in their mind who you are, the opportunities your business represents for them. Bottom line, it's once a week for 8 weeks. It's 1 touch per week. 1 touch per week for 8 weeks. That's the 8x8. The way
this has also changed a little bit for the internet lead stuff. They've increased the 8x8 specifically to that model per day. Same model, it's just day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. So you can use it in different, more aggressive patterns. I can't remember. I think it's Ben Kenny said it was the 8 days of pain is what they called it there for a while. But yeah, you can use this not just weeks, but in days.
Yes. So remember, look back on page 143. I want you to have that dog ear. Look back on page 143, figure 12. This is the map. So when we're talking about these different parts of the process, I want you to be looking at figure 12 so you understand how they work together. Now, again, the 8x8 comes, if you're looking on figure 12, page 143, the 8x8 comes after a contact is made. This is not what we use for the haven't met group. This is after an initial contact, okay? And the point of the 8x8 is to get them onto your 33 touch, which is on page 147. So we start with the 8x8. You'll see in figure 14 on 146, they give you the breakdown of what an example would be. Go to page 147. We know the 8x8's job is to get people onto your 33 touch, because your 33 touch is what we're sending, or 36 touch is what we're sending to your MET database. The 33 touch, he says this under point 2, your 33 touch program will be a systematic marketing and prospecting technique, it's both, which will ensure year-round contact with the METs. Further down, you must accept this as a basic but crucial job in your business, meaning doing this part. Your ultimate success depends on it. Now, figure 15 on page 147 gives you a breakdown or an example of what that looks like. In the Facebook group, I will post the video of the 36 touch training that Tony DeCello did last year, year before, where they actually go based on the research of the rewrite for MREA 2. What they actually found an increase, but they changed what the touches are. And I think a lot of you are going to like the 36 touch outline that they give there. So be looking for that video. Now, look on page 148 and 149. Then they get into this thing called the 12 direct. And in my experience from coaching agents for a number of years, there's a general understanding of an 8x8 and a 33 touch. There is almost no understanding of a 12 direct. And the 12 direct is such an important piece. And I would argue it's one of the most important based on how our industry has shifted, because the 12 direct is what we use for people we haven't met. People we absolutely have no relationship with. People we've never had a contact with. And again, if you look back at the figure 12, 143, you're going to see this is on the right side of that column. It's the haven't met side. And the 12 direct, its job is to create a relationship. Now, Jake, once we take somebody through a 12 direct process, what's our ultimate goal to move them to?
Move them into the 33 touch. We move them over into the Mets category.
You guys, everything, yes, everything that we're talking about, its whole goal is to get them to your 33 touch to build your MET database. That is the absolute entire goal of all of your lead generation model. That's it.
Yeah. Dick Dillingham does a really good explanation of this 12 direct. Jump on Connect, grab his video about the 12 direct. It's a great 6-7 minute video on Connect about it through Dick Dillingham. Totally worth your time.
Yes. Yes, yes. All right, so the 12 direct, it's one thing sent out once a month. So maybe this could be used farming, maybe this is used to just geographic targeting, whatever it looks like, but it's one piece per month. One per month. All right. Now, as we're wrapping this up, because we're at time, look on page 151. Now, you know that Gary talks a lot about in this book with Jay. You know they talk a lot about the importance of listings and what listings can do for your business, and that is 100% true. That is so important. Yet a lot of people are deer in the headlights because what if I get one? What then? Like, I get it. I think listings are important, but good God, what happens if I actually take one? Then I have to be a listing agent. Like, I don't know what that looks like. What does that look like? I don't know what to do. Guys, page 151, if you don't have a marketing plan, it gives you the foundation for one. Page 151, figure 17, gives you the foundation for a listing marketing plan. Now, regardless of what brokerage you're with, I'm sure they have their own marketing plan. Go to your leader at your office and find out what they do, what you get to offer with your brand. If you don't have one, though, figure 17 should be your starting point. All right, so that's our time today, guys. Next week, we'll be going through the budget model and the organizational model. I promise you we'll have a full hour with those two as well. Come prepared. That will be pages, let me give those to you. That will be pages 152 through 174 for next week. Thank you guys for being on the call. We'll see you next week.